Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm a journalist, author, interviewer, and broadcaster. And frankly, it all began for me on March the 1st, 1985, when I interviewed one of my music heroes, Leonard Cohen. That 1 hour conversation left me feeling so transcendent that I decided I must track down more of my music heroes to talk with. Thus began a career that would lead to me interviewing roughly 1,400 celebrities, not all of whom were my music heroes, I hasten to add. But one of these interviewees was Toom Jones, whose music I'd loved since I bought his early single called Once Upon a Time. As it transpired, I interviewed Tom 3 times. We did our first face-to-face interview in Dublin in 1989, and during that chat, Tom stopped, laughed, and said, "Hey, talking to you is dangerous. It's like talking to a mate in a pub. I have to remind myself you're an interviewer, and I better be careful what I tell you." But Jones continued being as candid with me as he could, and afterwards he brought me down to his hotel room to meet his wife, Linda. Either way, what you're about to hear is the second part of a phone chat we did for the Irish Times. And here I must say thank you to all the fellow fans of Toom Jones who told me they loved the first part of this podcast, particularly when they watched the visualized version on YouTube. And they also engaged with me in many a chat about Tom. By the way, if you want to read some of the articles I wrote about Toom Jones and many of the other celebs I interviewed, check out joejacksoninterviewer.com.
Okay. All right. I have just one question on how is Linda? Because I mean, the last time we talked, you denied the divorce rumors that came out of those tabloid stories about whoever it was. I can't remember who it was. 20-year-old girl. I mean, is that still true? And was she there on the tour to keep an eye on you, Tom?
What, my wife?
Yeah.
No. She wasn't there to keep an eye on. She came on the tour because she had never really done it before.
Right.
She'd never been to Ireland because, last year she came to Ireland with me.
Sure, I know that. Sure, I fleetingly saw her that day.
Right.
So, I mean, are those rumors? I noticed there's not that much of that going on, but then a lot of our readers would not have read our press denial. So, I mean, you're denying that again, that your marriage is on the rocks.
Definitely.
Right.
The only difference, the thing was I think what started it was buying the house in Wales.
Right.
And my wife spending time there.
Right.
So it was like I don't know what paper it was, but somebody said, his wife lives in Wales and he lives in Los Angeles.
Right.
Which is not true.
Right. But there was also those pictures turning up of you and other women, and we did.
Oh Christ, there's been pictures of me and other women.
Right.
All the way through it, but it means nothing.
Well, we already remember, we did talk in '89 about, remember I did say to you about the very serious, the kind of Marjorie Wallace thing and a suicide attempt, and you said that occasions like that, and maybe the Charles Manson thing was your quote, if I remember correctly, make you wary of just looking at a woman from the stage and saying, "I'd love to," and going for it.
Right.
That is still your position?
Yes, it's not as easy as that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I know that. There's more problems than there is pleasures.
Right.
From messing around, really, you just can't do it.
Right. So you're saying you've been a good boy of late?
Yes.
I know they're difficult questions, Tom, but these people have a particular image of you. I have heard Irish people describe you as, and one person said this, and I didn't use it in their interview because I didn't particularly want to, that your image about Ireland going right back to '64 was that you're the greatest hammer man in the history of rock.
The what? Say that again?
The greatest hammer man.
Oh, yeah?
So I guess a lot of our readers would expect that, would have that image, or have this image of as the ultimate male stud, So, I mean, that's the image they're going to have, and it's either kind of you address that or not. Well, the other view we talked about was that, like a Welsh man, you might be terrified of the missus.
What, being Welsh?
Yeah. Well, Welsh-Irish, it's very much like the woman in control, no?
No, I wouldn't think that. I've never, when I was growing up in Wales, it was like, the husband went to work and the wife.
Right.
So it was. And I was misquoted with that once too.
I remember.
Saying that, and I thought that, men should go to work and women should stay at home.
Well, you see, that's one of those quotes that I'd also like to get out of the way in the Irish Times, because it's all adults who are reading this one.
Yeah.
That's something I've seen even since, well, we're not going to change it in one shot, but I've seen that quoted so many times that they might say that the fact that Linda has lived a quiet life, has lived sometimes apart, has lived in your shadow, kind of suggests that you do believe that she should have served you right along, and a woman's role is to service a man.
No, the reason that's it's happened like that is that I respect her wishes.
Right.
She is a quiet person.
Right.
She doesn't, and she's a very private girl. She's not, and I've always respected that. She'd
Right.
ask me, would you mind if I didn't go here, or would you mind if I didn't? And I'd say, look, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, then don't do it.
Right. Right.
It's always been her idea about not going to functions, to show business functions, or to do interviews.
So would you kick out the suggestion that she's sacrificed her life for you?
Oh my God, that's you'd have to ask her that question.
Sure.
I don't feel that. But
Right.
I don't know whether she does. It's
Right.
never. That question's never cropped up.
Right.
Sorry, I don't know.
Okay, well then the last question in that very tricky area, and sorry again for this, but this is part of my job.
I understand.
Just the view that you have mistreated women, be it your wife or other women, and that you basically, a lot of feminists would think of you as the ultimate bastard to women. I mean, do you meet that daily? How do you answer it?
No, I don't meet it daily. Because of some of those misquotes.
All right.
That women belong in the home and men should go and that kind of thing. I've had trouble from women's lib organizations.
Right.
I used to.
How though? What did they do? Pick at the shows or what?
No, I'd get nasty letters from
All right.
them, and if I met any of them in person, they'd even get down to when I did She's a Lady.
Right.
Some women said that they didn't like it, even in the song. It sounded like she's all you'd ever want, and all this business. And they said it's not. It's not right. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of them fight against the word lady because it reminds them of Lord.
Maybe, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
But they didn't like it anyway.
Right.
This is what I was getting from them. Until then, I recorded a song called Puppet Man.
Yeah.
And in the lyric in that is like, I'm a puppet for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you want to see me do my thing, baby, pull my string. You can sort of pull my strings. So then they had letters saying, oh, well, that's right, you righted the wrong now because you recorded the song about, so it gets to that,
Right, so what do you think they are? That they're bringing a big issue down to very silly levels?
I think so.
Right.
And being misquoted. So, I've that misquote has really followed me around.
Right.
Since it was first said. And then I did a show for the for Women's Lib organization in Washington.
Right.
And because they asked me that, and I said I would love to do it because this is the thing that that I want to try and clear up.
When was that? Way back.
Yeah, well, yeah, in the
70s.
late 70s, yeah.
Right.
78, 79, somewhere around there.
Okay. So.
And, so that's it. I wanted to get it cleared away because I don't want. The one thing I don't want. I don't like people to dislike me.
All right.
Unless they tell me why.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I'll try and straighten them out. And if they still do, then it's not my fault.
So what was the response that night when you did the show?
It was great.
Did you talk to them afterwards and all that? Or?
Yeah. Oh, I talked before.
Right.
I said, look, and they were always on about that misquote. Why did you say then that, men should go to work and women should look after the children at home? I said, I didn't say, I said that's when I was brought up. My fight for a woman to go to work and have the kids come home and cook their own food.
Right.
My mother felt that she should be there for my sister and myself. And she felt that.
But
my father didn't bloody have it on a chain, but...
Sure.
That's the kind of thing that was going on.
But then didn't you, I've talked to a lot of male stars, and I suppose even I as myself, I come from a working class background. There's a lot of things you pick up without questioning it. And maybe at various points in your life you have to reevaluate your attitude to women. I mean, surely you had to, as a man, come to those moments.
Well, I tell you, it's being misconstrued. When I used to talk about pubs in Wales,
Right.
and still do, about that the women were not allowed in the public bar.
Right.
You know, now some American women especially say, how can that be? I mean, you can't tell women that you can't go to public bar. I said the reason for it was that men, especially working class, you know, Welsh coal miners and factory workers, they like to be in a place where they can use bad language and break wind if they want to.
Right.
You know, without, you know what I mean?
Right, sure. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and not having to say, oh, excuse me, or sorry, or, you know, that kind of thing. So that's the reason it was to protect the women rather
Right.
than...
Right. But is that how you are? I mean, do you like to find that space where you can get away from all the women?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, I do. And I don't like bad language use in front of women.
Okay.
I don't like, you know, I mean, I just don't like it. It rubs me the wrong way. I suppose it's because of, you know, being brought up that way.
Sure. But then there are those...
I don't, you know, I mean, with me,
Right.
men, when I'm having a conversation with the lads,
Yeah.
you know, it's every other word is fuck.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
sure,
and
sure.
I even put it in the middle of a word sometimes.
Oh, yeah. That's very Irish.
Well, no, you know what I mean? No,
Yeah. You break up a syllable.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But when there's women around, it automatically shuts off me.
Well, you know, Tom, there are going to be probably feminists who would say that if we were equal to men, you should be cursing in front of us too.
Well, this is it, but I don't anyway.
All right,
You
right.
know, if women want to do it, then fair, you know, that's up to them. Whoever, you know, but I don't like other men swearing in front of women either.
All right.
It rubs me the wrong, but I'm sure it's because of training, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
My mother didn't like it, and my father couldn't use it in the home, and it's like that. So,
But don't you have a right as a man to say, I have to be true to what I am, irrespective of what they're all saying now is politically correct?
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do, but that's what I feel, though.
Right, right,
You know,
right.
I have my own values, but
Sure.
it's still based upon the way I was brought up. But
Okay.
I agree with them. If I didn't, I wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
If something happened in my childhood that I thought, no, this is bullshit, you know, I can't put up with this, then I would have changed it.
Right, right. Okay, I've only 3 or 4 more questions in case you're getting anxious. You know the way... I told you it was going to be these serious questions, didn't I?
All right.
The last question on that, I've seen recent, and they're not just by women, but by people who look on male sex symbols, right? And they say that male sex symbols tend to, and you can turn this around to Madonna if you like, male sex symbols tend to turn women into just passive dreamers, and all they ever do is long to get this man, and that's kind of a way of keeping them under control. Do you ever read that kind of theory? You know what I'm saying? You know what they're saying? That it's like their focus becomes just an obsession with Toom Jones, and they're just kind of fantasists.
Well, no, let me say this. I think people look and listen to entertainers and see different things.
Right.
They don't all see the same. You can't say, oh, now the women in the audience see you this way and this is what they want from you.
All right. That's almost sexist.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. You know what I mean? I think that there are some women, yes, definitely. They're the ones that hang around, and they're the ones that, you know, if I go outside the hotel, they'll be the ones that are sitting around outside and that kind of thing.
Right.
They can be obsessed, but they're only a handful.
So what do you do with the obsessive ones? I mean, they're going to arrive at your Dublin hotel, aren't they? They're probably going to read this interview.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you deal with that? Do you welcome them or tell them to get lost?
It all depends on what they want and how. But when the kind of people I'm talking about is when I travel, not so much in Ireland because I'm not there that often.
Right.
When I do shows in the States especially, when I go to certain cities, those people are there.
And they follow you.
Yeah, and they're the same people, and I know that these people, it's more than listening to me sing and enjoying my talent.
Right, but is it just women?
Obsessed, and I handle it in that way, though.
Well, it's not just, doesn't just sound then like women who want to bed you. If they may be part of it.
It could be, but I mean, some of those women, you know, they're older than I am. Some of them, they're not all sort of young.
Right.
Some of them, I feel sorry for some of those people because, you know, they latch onto an entertainer and it becomes part of their life.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's also you're getting near the John Lennon territory. The Mark Chapman, the person who was obsessed with Jodie Foster. I mean, this is dangerous.
Yeah, this is one thing that you know that I'm always aware of. It's always there in the back of my mind. You know that when people are hanging around like that.
Right.
You know, how long are they going to just be like that? I mean, will one flip one day? Who knows?
Sure, but you do have bodyguards.
I do, yes, when I'm,
Yeah.
but less. I've had less because you know the fella that was with me the last time I was in London,
Yeah.
you know, Chris Montgomery.
I don't think he was with you the last time, was he? He was there the first. When I met you in London, he was there, but I don't remember seeing him.
He wasn't there the last time. Sorry,
Right.
no, he was already gone by then.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but he, you know, I mean, he was a good man, so I thought.
All right.
You know, he was an ex-army man, and it was like that. But then he, you know, he let me down.
Why? How?
Well, first of all, he started using my credit card.
Oh wow. Right.
You know, I mean, he had my credit card because he used to go and buy things for me.
Oh right.
You know what I mean? He had to go and pick up stuff, and sometimes sometimes if you're going to check out of a hotel, they won't let you know. Sometimes. So
Right.
He had to have some access to money, so we had a credit card, and he used it for himself.
Oh right.
So we were getting bills, all kinds of bills from places I'd never been. You know.
Oh right.
So when I confronted him with it, he said he was very sorry, and he would pay it back given time.
Right.
But when somebody does that to me, I can't have him around me anymore.
Sure. You lose trust.
Yeah, so I had to let him go, and then there was a whole thing in the news. The world came out about.
This
that and the other.
is all about your women and the way you mistreated people and used him.
Yeah.
To tell those women to fuck off if they came to you afterwards. Was that those?
Yeah.
Right. How do you respond to him then? I mean, do you not go after him or anything?
Well, you know, I mean, I hope I don't see him.
All right.
You know, I mean, those people, I'd rather not see them anymore. Rather than be confronted with it, because I don't know what I would do. You know, I mean, it's one of those things that
Sure.
I'd rather not face it.
Right. Okay, my last question, I said this to you during our last interview, I don't know what it is, I think I got this from my upbringing with my dad. I love truth. Now, my big nightmare is that when your biography is published after you die, it'll make a big lie of our interviews. So tell me now, what's the worst thing that will be revealed?
The worst thing will be revealed. I have no skeletons in the closet.
Right.
No, there would be nothing revealed that hasn't been said.
Suggested.
Or that hasn't been suggested, exactly.
Right.
There would be no truth. There would be no truth coming out that hasn't already been suggested.
That will make all your fans feel like they were had for years.
Right. There is nothing like that.
Okay, last question on your music. How you know this whole new country explosion over there?
Yes.
I mean, to me, you'd be well placed to go in and do some of that stuff. I mean, what are you now going? Where are we going to see you go musically in terms of recordings?
Well, that's a hard thing for me to decide, because I want to do some soulful stuff. You know, I want to make some really good, strong songs.
Okay.
But I don't think it would be country unless somebody came up. You know, it all depends on the material.
Sure.
You know, if a song came my way and I thought, Christ, that's a bloody good song.
Right.
You know, it could be like when I did the Green Green Grass of Home. You know, it was the first country song.
That's right.
That I recorded, but when I heard it, I thought, I have to do this.
Right.
You know, so wherever that song comes from, that's what I'll do.
Right, because I have noticed, I've just come back from Nashville too, that they're now embracing singers who have more of a rhythm and blues bass.
Yeah.
And they don't mind if you're hauling in kind of music by black artists and all that, whereas they used to be very racist.
Well, this is true, but the difference I see with it is I watched the award show last night, the country award show last night.
Right.
Even though they're doing sort of country rock, the singers still sound like country singers.
All right.
And this is what I've observed is that when I was making some country records for Polygram in the early 80s, even though I was singing country songs, my sound and my voice is not country.
Right.
So they can't grasp that, you know what I mean? It's like a country singer, for instance, like Ronnie Millsap can record any day now, which he did.
Okay.
Right, which is basically done by, originally was Chuck Jackson.
That's right, I know it, I have it.
Right?
Yeah.
So Ronnie Millsap does it, but because he's got this country sound in his voice, he had a country hit with it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a country singer can take a non-country song and get a country hit with it.
Right.
Because when he does it, or she does it, it sounds country.
So what's the difference, Tom? Is it that you have too much emotion, too much power that maybe, or what is it? I mean, because they say that people like Solomon Burke, didn't he do Just Out of Reach? Was that him?
Yes,
he put black emotion into a country song. And then Ray Charles did the same thing.
That's right.
So you don't think you think the new breed don't do that, don't have that kind of black element?
Well, no, what I'm saying is that when Solomon did Just Out of Reach and when Ray Charles did that country album,
Yeah.
it went pop.
Right.
They took country songs, you see, but they didn't go country, you know what I mean?
Right.
Those songs were not big country songs. Like when I did The Green Green Grass of Home, it went pop.
Right.
It was a minor country hit.
Sure. So do you feel lost then between different musics or trying to find your focus yet?
I've always had that.
Right.
I've always been, I mean, not me. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to be able to sing anything and everything.
Right.
That I feel and be accepted for that. But the powers that be, they always want to, they want to feel safe in knowing that you're in a certain category.
Right.
That they say, oh yes, I listen to, so-and-so records because I like rhythm and blues.
Right.
And I listen to Ronnie Millsap because I like country music. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They say, well, I listen to Tom Jones. Oh, really? Oh, well, what exactly is that?
Right.
It's difficult for them to place me, and I understand why, because I've covered a wide area of music, and I've never sounded authentic in that particular music. Inauthentic in the way that, like when I do a country song, I have to do it my way. I have to sing it the way I feel it, not the way that a country singer would feel it.
Well, Tom, I have, and I was just playing them this afternoon, two of my favourite albums of yours that I've had since I was a boy are the 13 Smash Hits and the Green Green Grass of Home. One to me is country and the other is rock and soul.
Right.
I'd say there's authenticity at the base of both of them, or maybe I'm being over-romantic in my memories.
No, you're right, but what I'm saying is when I did those country songs on the Green Green Grass of Home, they were country songs.
Right.
But they were still me. You could
Yeah. Right.
knew it was me doing it. I didn't change my style of singing.
Right.
The music.
Okay. So we can't say then where I can't tell everybody what we can expect down the line. You're just going to have to wait and see.
That's right.
All right, Tom.
Because I don't even know myself.
Right. Listen, I thank you very much for meeting what I know were pretty cheeky and challenging questions.
Well, that's, it's better that way, I think.
Right, in all our interviews.
Anyway.
Huh?
It makes it more interesting.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll see you later when you come over here.
Very good.
Bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. I thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast. And as I said, if you want to read any of the articles I wrote, check out joejacksoninterviewer.com.